Welcome to the InStory show. I'm Devorah Spilman, your host, and our theme is what does it mean to expand into a new story? And how do you come out of hiding and dare to be seen for who you really are by saying yes to your soul and telling your story? And today I'm thrilled to welcome Patti Keating. Hi, Patti.
Hi.
So I'm going to read a little bit about you and then we will dive in. Patti Keating is an OCF coach for 22 years and a business mentor for midlife women with a calling. She helps women build businesses rooted in truth, voice, and self trust to grow their visibility, lead with conviction, and create work that leaves a legacy. Oh, love that. So good. All right, so I'm going to ask you what I ask everyone, which is what does it mean to you to expand into a new story?
It means that you are becoming more of who you are meant to become. It means that you are growing and evolving and changing the whether it's the work you're doing or the family, the relationships, you are changing your future by changing your story.
Oh, that's good. Changing your future by changing your story. Oh, I like that. So, all right, so let's hear a little bit of your story. Really, like, how did you get to be like a successful business coach that's so authentic? Like, how did you get started
How
in
did I
your
get
business?
started? Well, I will tell you, the moment I got started was when I was 9 years old.
Yes,
Yes.
tell me.
I was raised in rural Oregon, and my father had been a farmer when he grew up. And so we had a garden, and I grew my first patch of pumpkins, and I loved those pumpkins. I chose the four jack-o'-lanterns once they were all grown the, that I was going to carve. And then I remember to this day turning and looking at all these other pumpkins in the field and realizing they were going to rot. And my little heart was sad. And then I thought, and some people don't even have a pumpkin. And I was looking at the highway with all these cars passing by, and I was like, and that's the moment my first business was born, Patty's Pumpkins.
Seriously, you sold them by the side of the road?
I got my dad's wheelbarrow and I rolled them down the driveway. I pulled down the picnic table bench. I broke open a cardboard box and I wrote Patty's Pumpkins.
And you
And
sold them?
and they sold out in 2 days. And here's what that taught me. I have things that I love and that I value that other people want. And I have had a business ever since.
I so love those kind of childhood stories. I know I had a marketer and she was the best paper girl in her
Yeah,
neighborhood. Right.
exactly.
So, so, so I'm so glad you told that because sometimes we have that. Not everybody does, but when you do, it's so important to notice it, that
Yes.
you have a childhood way that you always were. Right?
Yes.
I've always told stories. But I would love to hear sort of that story you were telling me about when it seems like it's all melted down and you're not going to be able to do the thing you want to do
Yes.
and you do it anyway.
Yes.
Like I think it's really important for us to tell each other those stories.
It is. It's so important, because we all have challenges. We have highs and lows. And sometimes we don't know as much about the lows as we do about the highs, right? So when I first started my business, it was 2004, and coaching was fairly new, not brand new, but fairly new. I had to explain that my kind of coaching did not involve a ball or a field. It was about your life. Life coaching was a niche. And so I went to coaching school and got my certification. And in that process, I was facing some real challenges. I had, and still do have, four children. And I was facing a divorce. We were selling our home that I so loved. The kids were acclimated in our community. And I had a decision to make because I had very little money. And the decision was, am I going to move in with my parents? What am I going to do? And in that moment, I realized that my current circumstances do not define my future.
Wow.
And so, if I believed that and I took the emotion and the heaviness and the challenges out of the question I was asking myself, what would I do? And I thought, well, I would give my children the life I promised them they would have the moment I first held them in my hands. So then the next question was, okay, so what is that life that you want for them? And I wanted them to go to a really great school, get a great education, be kind, loving humans, be surrounded by people who value community. Um, and so I set out to find where that was. And I would drive 100 miles away from home every weekend, insert, and I can tell you every school district in the Portland area, which is where I live, the elementaries and the high schools, I checked them all out. And I just wanted this small town feeling. I grew up in the country, right? We were living in a small city, but I will never forget driving down this road, South Shore, and looking out at this lake and noticing that the children riding bikes and walking were wearing just non-branded t-shirts. They weren't like where I was from. There were like all these different identities that were a little bit divisive in the schools. And it just felt down home. And my heart skipped a beat. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really would love to live here. I hope the schools are good. So I went to the elementary schools and checked them out and found that they're one of the best districts in the state and their high schools are one of the best in the nation. And so that was it. I found it. Now, what am I going to do? Because when you have a lake town with the best
This
school
is Lake
district in the
Oswego,
state,
right?
yes,
Okay.
um, the when you have that, the cost of living is not low. So there were a lot of places I could have moved that were not in the same, the rent that I was looking for. But I just decided I am going to figure this out. It was right. I knew it in my soul. And so I just started looking for houses. And I had a brand new coaching business. I think I was making like back then maybe around $1,000 a month. Right now I'm gonna move into this town. But I just put it out there and I was like, I know I can figure this out. When I decide that I want something or who I'm going to become, I can do it. And I had this really interesting experience where I looked at one of the properties and the person showing it was late. He came in, he was like, I'm so sorry. Somebody called in sick. Let me show you around the house. And I was looking at it as I was like, I love this house. I don't have the full rent and deposit, but I would garden, I would take really good care of it. I wonder if the owner would bet on me. And he said, well, that's interesting. I'm the owner. I own the property management company and I will bet on you. I said,
Wow.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I got myself, drove my U-Haul truck. I'll never forget the big U-Haul, right? Shaking my way into this new life. And then my assignment was to get the second half of that first month's rent. And I had like 2 weeks to do it. So here's what I knew. I knew what I was good at. And some of you watching know what you're good at. And maybe you're not using it fully because it's not being seen by other people, right? But I knew I was good at coaching and problem solving. And so I decided I'm a speaker. I'll be a speaker. I'll talk at local networking groups. And I started looking for local networking groups, every day. I've only got 2 weeks. And I called a woman who had at that time 63 networking groups around town and left her a message. And she called me right back and she said, "Are you Patti Keating on Twitter?" Back then we didn't have Facebook. And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I've been following you. I would love to have you speak. We have a cancellation this week. Could you come in Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. for our breakfast meeting?" And I was like, "I sure can. And I can speak twice a week anywhere you want me to at any time." And she booked me. And that was, gosh, 22 years ago. And I just spoke at their 25th anniversary. I emceed it and talked about the experience of, working with them for so long. But that, I had to trust myself and then I had to let go and trust the step that was next for me. Just trust, have faith, right? I really feel like this house on a cul-de-sac right across the street from the school would be perfect. No, I don't have the funds in this moment, but let's just go see what it looks like. Let's get in the game of this is, let's play. And if it doesn't work, this or something greater. That's one of my mantras. And it worked. And I think sometimes people forget to take a chance on themselves
Hmm. Hmm.
because we get in relationship with circumstance
Hmm.
instead of our vision. So expanding into a new story means, what is the story of who I'm becoming? And anchoring, it's like throwing an anchor over and lodging it in the future and then figuring out how to navigate the path there. And that's exactly what happened.
I love your story, and I love how, oh, there was a cancellation this week, right? Like that's when you know you're really in tune with what's meant to happen to you, and you just are saying yes.
Yes.
I know. And so I'm gonna go to the other end. Like, what do you feel is really important now for women? Because I know you work with the same population that I do, like women in midlife and older, and I really think we are being called forward
Oh,
right now
yes.
in a lot of ways. So I would love to hear a little bit of your thoughts about what's happening with us as women and what we have to say and what's
Mm.
changing for us and what's helping women now.
Well, first of all, we're being called up.
Yeah,
We're up. If we were at a baseball game, you are up.
I
Like,
know. I feel that too. I feel it too. Yeah.
and here's what I notice, and here's what is reflected back to me in groups that I'm in with younger women. And they'll say to and smart, amazing women, and they'll say to me after just like interacting, "You are so wise." And I think wisdom is undervalued in the past. It's been undervalued. And that's what we are being called to do is to value our wisdom and to not feel like, well, I can't contribute because these young ones are coming along and they have this, that, and the other thing that I don't. While simultaneously they're thinking, well, I can't fit in with that older person because she has this, that, and the other thing that I don't, right? Like, let all of that go and speak from your heart and share your truth.
I,
Share what people need you.
I agree. I have been talking for a few years now on wisdom, and
Mm,
our culture lost the sense of the value of wisdom and that we have wisdom. Like we have
it's
what I call your
important.
lived wisdom, your learned wisdom, and your intuitive wisdom. And you put those together, you really do have something of value to say.
Yes. And do for other people.
Right, right, right. And so, what do you think is helping? I think the other area that I'm seeing, I think there's the wisdom, and then I think there's the trusting higher guidance.
Hmm.
I think that's like the other domain, that
Hmm.
trusting our intuition, it has
Oh, yeah.
lots of names, our spiritual selves, our intuitive selves, our higher guides, like that part, I
Hmm.
think is also being reclaimed. I
Mm.
don't know, are you seeing that? Are you feeling and seeing that too?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that for a lot of women, that was sort of hush hush. right?
Yeah.
If they knew how I got my information, they'd think I'm, woo or like psychic or something, but which everybody really is if you get quiet and just listen or whatever it is for you.
Right.
But yeah,
Right. Right. So
that's
I,
what was happening with me when, I'm just going to go to this house. I'm just going
right.
to drive down this street. I'm just going to
Right.
call this woman.
Right. It's like learning to listen to that
Yes.
and trust it. And in many domains, like you are a business coach, but you're using that same intuition and expanded awareness in what you're up to. So
Mhm.
maybe say a little bit more about that.
Well, I think what I see in clients and just across the board is I just wrote a post on this last night. It's that there's these women with these gifts, and maybe they have a lot of gifts, and it's like, I just can't figure this out. I'm overwhelmed. I have too much, or whatever the thing is they're telling themselves. So they stop and they sit down and they try to figure it out. I need to figure it out. I need to make a plan, which I am all about making a plan. And what if you didn't need to figure it out? What if the answer to the question you have lives in the next step that you take rather than sitting in your current circumstances and deciding it's a decision that you're surrounded by has impact on what you're here to do or what you could do or your possibilities. So this post that I referred to, I wrote, it's like walking on a trail to your destination and you're walking along and then all of a sudden you just decide to sit down on the trail and look at a notebook and make a plan for how you're going to get there.
When you're already on the trail.
You're on the trail. Just keep going. Let's see which way it goes. It's going to get you there. So trust. I think there's a lot of trust in that.
Mhm. Yeah. So just in the realm of sort of strategy and getting it out there, one of the new things I noticed that you've been playing with is Substack,
Yes.
right? And so even though this is not sort of my main thing, but it is an example of just trying something. And so maybe you can say a little bit about your experience with that
Yes.
and just what and what allows people to try out a new thing.
It's exactly what we're talking about. So I'll
Yes,
tell
that's
you
why I
how.
mentioned it.
Uh-huh. It's exactly what we're talking about because this is how this came to be. I saw a few people posting about Substack. And I went over, I didn't have an account. I'd heard the words, but I didn't know what it was. And I looked around and I was like, well, it looks like there's some like deep and meaningful like conversations happening here, but I wonder what it's really like. So I put a post on my Facebook profile and said, who's on Substack and what's your experience? And that post blew up with positive comments. I love it there. It's, a lot of like meaningful writing, true conversations. And so I went and I looked again and I was drawn to it. And I thought, you know what? Because I've witnessed social media from the beginning, right? And I've been a person who used social media to promote my business and to deliver a lot of my business in Facebook groups and such. And it's gotten noisier and noisier and noisier and more and the quality level has declined, right? And now, like, oh, if you want to they changed the algorithm, Meta did last year to interest based rather than follower based. So you can have all these followers and friends, but they don't see your content. It's all about what are you interested in. And so then people are just pushing stuff trying to capture your attention, right? So I decided I am going where the true conversations are. And I started my Substack and I am blown away by what's available there. It's your own media platform. And I've been on there 28 days, so this is new. And I just hit 100 subscribers. And the difference is staggering. Like if I go live on Facebook, maybe two people of the 7,000 that follow me will will see the live. I went live when I think I had around 40 followers, maybe 2 weeks in or so. And there were like 7 or 8 people on, right? And then they were responding, and then they're sharing, like they're commenting on my content. So I think it goes back to that. It's something new. I'm an early adopter, so I will check things out, right? Something new to other people can be intimidating. Or what I hear a lot of women say is, oh, I don't need another platform to post on. And so my experience is this is my main home platform, and I can bring the people over from the noisier platforms who, these transformational leaders and wise women that we're talking about. Their message does not belong in a 3-second reel,
Mhm.
right? It's not being conveyed because they danced on TikTok, right? It needs words and language, whether it's you can go live there, you can have a podcast, you can write. Like, how do people consume your content? And everybody consumes it differently. So, I'll write an article and then I'll read it back into the post I'm making, and it will create an audio version for the people who just want to listen in the car. So that's how that came to be, by trusting what I was seeing and having the courage to, I mean, I fumbled around. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it took a couple weeks to set it up. But now I'm so excited because I'm helping other women set it up, and they're women whose voices matter. And now they
Mhm.
have a place for that to happen. And so I'm really passionate about it. That's why you're seeing me talk about it so much.
But that's why I asked you because, I see you on Facebook and, we've connected before. And just when you were talking about having that courage to try something, I think that's great because I have that same thing like, ew, I don't want to do another thing because it
Yeah.
seems too techy. I have to figure it out. But it's important I wanted you to talk about that too, because we need the people who that doesn't stop them.
Yeah.
Then that makes it a little easier for the next person, right?
Yeah, because guess what I'm teaching right now? I'm doing Substack startup workshops. So I'm
Right.
helping these. That would see if I was sitting with my notebook planning this would not be in the plan.
Right.
But I'm following what I'm passionate about, serving these women. And I
Right.
know this is right for them. And so I am on Facebook with my megaphone. I'm over to Substack.
That's why I decided to ask you about it because it's just new and fresh and we have different ways of what step you're on and where you are and how to say yes to something. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing about
you're
that.
welcome. You're
I
welcome.
really, really appreciate it. And look, and we'll go in and we'll play around. We'll take that same attitude,
Yeah.
those who are interested. So, all right, tell us a little bit about your free gift and what it
Mhm.
is and how it came to be.
Okay, my free gift is called the E Code. It's an acronym. E is for entrepreneur. And then it's code, which is core values, opportunities, design, and energy. And it came to be when I first started coaching. I had hired a coach, and he did a core values session with me that I really learned a lot about myself. And what I began to notice was that anytime I was honoring those values, everything was easy. And when I was dishonoring them, everything was hard. And so, what if I taught people to build a business based on who they are? And their core values was the foundation of their business. And so, and that's what I teach. Like you're on this stage, you have this platform. The floor of the stage is your number one core value, and the legs are your four supporting values. And when those are all honored, you are solid. Now you can build, and you don't have to have a script. You don't have to think about it because you get to be who you are. But you have to first know who you are. A lot of us get confused by outside influence, right? So that's in there. It takes you through each of those steps, your core values, Your opportunities looks at what's the experience I have in my life that I can bring forward and bring out through my business. So that's where we were talking about wisdom, right? That's where that would live. And then the design is what's your life purpose? And then the energy is an Enneagram assessment. So, how do you take your purpose, your values, your opportunities, and how do you naturally express those in the world? And how do you naturally deliver? Well, if we look at the Enneagram, so for instance, I'm an 8 with a 7 wing. So the 8 is the challenger, the 7 is the enthusiast, and I will enthusiastically challenge you all day long. It's just my natural state, right? And then, like my values, my top two are freedom and self expression. And the Entrepreneur Unleashed, my company, helps women express who they are and create freedom. So it's simply honoring your values, honoring your experience, knowing your purpose, and knowing how you express it. And that's why over the last 22 years, we've seen so many coaches come and go and but I'm just like, here I am because it's the truth. It's my
Mhm.
truth. It's not some business in a box I bought on a webinar that was going to like make me millions of dollars. So
Right.
that's my free gift. So you can go in, it's a 4-part video series. You can go through each of those four and think about, who am I really in my business or my life? This applies to life as well. At the core, I'm a life coach, but I'm really good at business. So that's people started saying, how do you always grow businesses? When my kids were little, before I had this business, I looked around for a really good preschool and I couldn't find what I want. So I started one organic gardening, right? Gymnastic classes, weekly field trips, music, right? It was the people who signed up stayed with me for 2 years until the kids were ready to go off to kindergarten. And it was awesome, right? And so people were always asking me, like, how do you just grow these businesses doing what you love, And so that's how the Entrepreneur Unleashed was born.
I love that. So grab the free gift so that you can get more clear and confident about your own natural gifts. Because that's the thing we have them like, I didn't know I was going to turn my gift into a business. I was always a performing storyteller and a teacher. And now I have this whole other soul story thing because I kept going, what is this turning into? Right? Like
Yes.
our things reshape themselves. So, and when you look at yourself, you get clues that other people don't tell you when you really
Yes.
look. So
Yes.
I really love that free gift. So leave us with a couple last thoughts before we wrap up.
All right. I'll leave you with the last thoughts that are contained inside my tagline. My tagline is be real, take a stand, change lives.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're real, first you have to know who you are, and then you have to have the courage to express who you are, and then take a stand for what you believe, what you know, who you are, how you can serve, do it your way. And when you do that, you will change lives, the lives of all the people you're serving, but you'll also change your own.
Yeah, really beautiful. Really beautiful. Just grab her gift, see where it leads you. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world and share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.